here in Buffalo. Let somebody know to come on. We're going to be talking about the Supreme Court's decision that is going to affect a lot of people. And if you're asleep at the wheel and you think that this decision is only going to affect your federal representatives, I got news for you. Because maps around here have been changed for years to keep people of color together. And that, the Supreme Court, and we're going to talk about it, the Supreme Court has said no more unless there's certain circumstances. It's going to be so difficult to prove those certain circumstances that when we talk about power to the people, some say we're going backwards. I say we're going in a whole different direction of where we've ever been. Because if you've never tasted sweet water, then once you taste the bitter, then you go, oh, wait a minute. So we're going to talk about that because it all comes down to how you vote, who you put in office, and then who's on the Supreme Court. We've been talking about it. But right now, and I've got a guest here, but before I go to the guest, there is a situation right now, a confirmed situation, but I'm going to say who confirmed it so that we are not, obviously I'm not there at the ECC. For those of you in the Atlanta market, that's our community college, Erie Community University. I think they changed the name, right? So at the end of the day, there is a breaking situation there. If you are in that area, avoid that area at all costs. Another radio station, well, Marc Pope through another radio station says that he's asking everyone to avoid the area near SUNY City campus in downtown Buffalo due to the ongoing situation. Allegedly there, and I don't want to, cause any alarm if you have people there. I'm from what I am seeing on social media, the people who are on the inside are so far okay. There's a heavy police presence. There's Buffalo Police. There's Sheriff's Office. There are people who are reporting from inside. I'm looking at, and I can't pronounce the name because it looks like it's in Arabic. It's a video I'm watching right now, active shooter in ECC, and the young man says, I believe, make sure your kids are good. Again, I am not trying to bring any type of panic. This is information. Urgent notice due to the ongoing situation in the area of SUNY Erie City campus. All are asked to avoid the area within the perimeter. WGRZ is reporting breaking news, Erie County, about Erie County executive polling cars. I've asked those of you who know anything to let us know on our social media platform. Most importantly, if you could do it on Facebook, because I can see that one quicker. Scotty Willard Boy Williams has unloaded a bunch of photos. They have even town police. This is what's making this seem even more urgent. It is not just Buffalo Police. It is Erie County Sheriff. I see Buffalo Police out there. I see some of the surrounding towns. I've tuned into our Buffalo Police scanner, and they are still doing some routine things, but that doesn't mean anything. Now, this is, again, I'm going to give you where I'm getting this from, because I'm not saying that there is an active shooter. I'm saying that what is being reported is that they are on lockdown, and according to some reports, there is someone in the building that went from the third floor, fourth floor, who has a weapon. Sugar Bomb Bakery says there's a confirmed gunman at ECC. I think right now what's starting to happen, I'm not going to read like people who are not there because I don't want to spread something that is not accurate. One of the people, I'm getting some feedback of people who are in there. Buffalo Street News, that's independent. Says the ECC campus experienced an incident involving a man with a firearm. Police are currently evacuating the building, and SWAT is entering. So if you have credible information, and if you're in the building, don't worry about notifying me. You stay safe. And I'm sure you're not listening to me if you're in the building, but those of you who may be in contact with people in the building, make sure you are encouraging them to pay close attention to law enforcement who are on the scene, to law enforcement. Now, I do have one person that I personally know who is inside of the school. She says that she is fine, and I'm going to go back over and just quickly get her update. But she says that she is perfectly fine, and so that's from Tina, who says she's fine at this point. She is an employee of the school. She is in the school. I'm just going to look for the update on her page real quick. She says, no, that's not it. To everyone checking on me, and this was 46 minutes ago, yes, I'm fine at ECC. Yes, we're on lockdown. And on her post, she says, gunmen on site. If you can avoid from coming down here today, please do. No doors are open. I'm going to come back to this. I'm going to continue with the show, but I just wanted to keep people informed. Right now, no credible news service or known news service is saying that there is an active shooter. I want to be clear. WGRZ, WIVB is simply saying that the school is in lockdown. The best thing that you can do if you have someone in there is to stay out of the area, because going down to the area, you may want to be close, but they're just going to move you out of the area. And so Buffalo News is still reporting that just to avoid the area. And during this show, we will continue to monitor the situation to see if there are any updates. And we are praying, of course, as people of faith, we are praying that everyone is safe that is in and around that area. So I want to be clear, we are praying all over those who believe, who are people of faith. This is the time when we don't only report, but that we pray. I'm going to go to my studio guest, and then I'll come back with whatever the latest outlook update is. You have something, Mark?
No, I just reached out to some of our friends on the council to see if they have been briefed yet, and they have not. So this is I guess this is moving rather fast, and all the briefings haven't even happened yet. So I did just get a call that once they find out something, they'll call back, and so we can update the people.
So even some of our city council has not been informed. I am positive. I would assume that the mayor has been informed, but I think in situations like this, you're trying not to cause panic,
right,
before you know information. And it's wild, because one of the stories I was just watching was a school district that's going to drones for situations like this, to have the drones on campus, so that they're able to see from a different vantage point.
And this, for us, that sometimes this is all so tragic, and a reminder, because it immediately takes you back to 2021 and standing on Jefferson.
Absolutely.
And with the amount of vehicles, and for those in Buffalo, this is a hampering to downtown, because this is right easy. The campus is right there at the 190 interchange where you get on and get off. So how much traffic flows into downtown and out of downtown from this area, it is a lot. And that was actually my way to come to the studio, and I had to divert and take the street. So this is going to be an impact, not just once they clear the area, but probably for the remainder of the day.
Well, I think, Duncan, you said the same thing. You were coming that way. Go ahead. You were down there.
I was down there. It is 50 vehicles, all lit up, fire, emergency rescue, police, sheriff. I don't know. I didn't know what was going on. I just, was passing by, heading here. Mm-hmm. But there is clearly a major incident. This is not, some one argument, type of situation. There's some type of threat there, because they got like a perimeter. They got the whole area roped off. Like I said, all the emergency personnel are out.
So it is major, folks. As I see people on social media always saying, check on your folks. This is for real. Check on your folks. But the one thing, and I'll just say this, and we'll move on with the show, with an active shooter or a situation like this, You don't want to call people
Right.
who may not have their phones on
Silent.
mute
Yep.
because it could alert someone to them. Wait for them to text you. So if you know of someone, and this is just, I mean, I was in Air Force years ago. We didn't have cell phones, but this is for someone who understands these things. At the end of the day, you don't call them. Wait for them to call you, because if their phone is ringing and there is an active person with a weapon in that place, you don't want to put your loved ones. And I know this for a fact. My daughter was in a situation in Atlanta recently where she's in the Walmart. They hollered that there's this incident up front. They hear shots. They hear, and her and her mom run to the back. She calls me from the woods. She ran out in the woods. And I'm saying, is your ringer off? All I cared, make sure your ringer is off. And thank God they came out of that all right. But I've lived this within the last few months out of in the Atlanta area. So I know that feeling. So make sure you do not do that. I'll keep you updated. Keep locked in right here. We'll keep scanning to bring you the news. If you're at work and you can't look, if you're driving and you can't look, keep it locked in right here, and we'll spend the time to go back and forth over all of our platforms and over our social media to be able to update you. Duncan, you got guests here today. Introduce your guests who are with us today, and I know every one of them, but.
Well, thank you for having us, Pastor. Really appreciate it. We're doing an event on May 7th, so next Thursday at 6 p.m. at Hoyt Lake. It's called Breakthrough 2024. And 2026. I'm looking at you right, trying to reach for it. Breakthrough 2026. And the idea is we want to create a religious, spiritual event for people of all backgrounds to come together and worship. I've had this on my mind, on my heart for some years, and I was just like, forget it. I'm just gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was always worried, because like I had this vision that like people who do religious things have a certain reverence, like you're called to do that type of work, and that's not my lane.
Mm-hmm.
So I stay in my lane. So I was kind of insecure, so to speak, about putting together a religious event. So I said, well, instead of me trying to put it together by myself, I reached out to Minister Joshua Hutchin,
my guy,
who's my brother-in-law, and I reached out to Minister Emmanuel Raffer,
my guy,
who's a good friend of mine, to be like the leaders of the event, and I would just kind of organize it, and they would, speak and bring the messages and stuff. So I let them say a little bit.
Well, let me say this before you pass it on, and we go on with the rest of the show. I was watching a podcast with Bishop Gregory Davis last night with Jasper Williams' son, Jasper Williams III. Mm-hmm. And what Bishop said last night, he said, we're in a space, the church has got to get out of the space where it's just basically, he said, the preacher who does these type of things. What happened to the evangelist? What happened to the church going out and not just being enclosed in that structure? So I want him saying that, and then you saying today that, it's maybe not in your lane. And I believe that as believers, it's in all of our lanes. I think that sometimes the church has thought it was their lane and only their lane. So who gave you the authorization to go out and to do a breakthrough service? Well, the authorization comes from heaven. It does not come from man. And when the authorization comes from heaven, it is just about moving on the vision. And anybody who is looking for who's authorizing it, who's supporting it, is looking at the wrong thing. They ought to be looking at what's going to be the results. So congratulations. Who you want to turn the mic over
Let's
to?
go over to Joshua first, because when I told him about it, he motivated me. Because I wasn't sure, like, can we really pull this off? What do you think? I was in the plan.
Yeah.
I hadn't even had a concrete date or nothing.
Yeah.
And I brought it to him, and I let him tell you a little bit about why he decided to.
Thank you for having us, Bishop.
Thank you for coming.
So, when Duncan called me with the idea, I thought it was amazing. The first thing he said was, I want to do this event, but it's not church.
Mm-hmm.
I said, no, I like that.
Because,
a lot of people are just tired of regular church.
Mm-hmm.
You come on Sunday and that's it. And so if we want to reach the world, we can't always expect them to come to us. We have to
right.
go to them.
That's right.
So when he said the idea, I'm like, yo, that's perfect. We can go. And he said the same thing, like, I don't do this. I said, you don't, but you plan events.
Absolutely.
I'm like, so you worry about the planning of it.
Yep.
And I'm like, we'll handle the spiritual side. We'll come together, and then I think it'll be dope. So
Will you be
here we are.
speaking at that event?
I will be speaking on forgiveness.
Wow.
And, Bishop, me and him, I was talking about it. It's hard. When I started studying forgiveness,
Yeah.
that thing got on me, and I was like, man, I be thinking I'm asking for forgiveness, and I'm doing other people a favor, and that ain't it at all. So we're gonna have and this is, I'm not gonna just preach to you. We're gonna have a conversation about it, and hopefully by the end of it, somebody will leave.
I think that's big for our community, especially because so many people have been taught to hold grudges, like it, and including in the church, to hold a grudge. This is the truth. This morning, I'm walking to my car, and I'm thanking God for what God is doing and has done in my life. And I believe one of the key reasons that God has been so merciful and gracious is because of forgiveness.
Absolutely.
Of not holding a grudge, of not keeping something going, of not speaking to people for years and years. And so go ahead.
And this is just to put this thought out there, and we'll dive
Yeah.
into it more. The Lord's Prayer, we say it, we learn it.
Yeah.
But what if God held us to that and only forgave us as we forgave those who trespass against us? And so what if He really held us to that and only forgave you once you or after you forgave somebody else?
Absolutely.
We'd be messed up.
Absolutely.
So
that's May the 7th, and we're going to go over May the 7th, 2026 breakthrough. What's up, my man? What how'd you get involved in this?
Yeah, only
This
Duncan
is my
can get me
guy.
involved, man. People who know me, I'm Emmanuel. I'm usually behind the scenes chilling. I like to find a corner and put myself there. But yeah, Duncan called, and when Duncan called and he talked about the idea, I told him anything he needed from me, I'd be down to help him. And he said, I need you to speak. So I said, I guess I got to eat those words.
You said it.
So yeah, I'm excited about this event. And like Josh and Duncan both said, what we a lot of times miss is that when all five folds of the ministry are active in the church, that's when the church grows. And sometimes we think an evangelist got to be the one that wear the suit and wear the tie and come and preach on Sunday. But an evangelist is a person that goes out and scouts the land and sees where people, sees where God is needed for people. And Duncan said that there was a need, and he went out and he scouted, and he said, I'm going to bring some preachers along with me to do it. And so shout out to Duncan for doing it, and I'm excited about doing it. I'm going to be talking about making it through a storm, and it's timely because if you don't realize, and I know you're going to talk about it later, if you don't realize what's just happened with the Supreme Court and don't realize that our community got a lot of storms coming on the way, and if we don't know how to deal with what's coming, you'll find yourself really, depressed and sad about when you look out into community, when you look out into your community and what you see. So I'm going to be talking about how to make it through a storm because, we got a lot of storms on our way, and storms are inevitable. So please come out, please support, and I'm excited to be there.
So we'll finish up with making sure we know where the event is, the day, the time. What we got?
Yeah, so I just want to shout out. The people need to understand this is not going to be a normal, just a regular service, but outdoors. We bringing together the Diocese of Buffalo Catholic Schools. They are partner on the event.
Okay.
We are bringing together the Western New York Women of God, the largest Facebook group of women of faith in Western New York. St. James House of Worship. I'm talking to my frat brother, Brother Gibson at Calvary today. So we just bring together all type of believers, all type of organizations. Even I'm partnering with this guy named Mr. Cannon Julio. He is over a local entertainment company called Dilly ENT. He the one who threw all the parties last summer. Buffalo looking like Houston, pool parties, hood taste of Buffalo. That guy, he's partnering with this. So we want to reach the people who not always in service, who don't always have that connection to God, but they want it. And so we're trying to bring everybody together. So it's going to be May 7th, next Thursday, 6 p.m. at Hoyt Lake. Come as you are. It's not going to be long, 6 to 7:45. 5, then we out. We got DJ King Shad is gonna bring the music because we're not gonna have a choir out there. We got Leah Halton Pope, councilwoman, soon to be assemblywoman. Leah Halton Pope is gonna lead our worship and song. Like we just trying to do something special. Mo Badger said he gonna come through and sing a little bit. So we're trying to do something special and bring all type of people together. So you need to be there.
Is there a charge?
No, absolutely not.
There's no charge at all. It's happening May the 7th, 6 to 7:45 at Hoyt Lake. Tell them where Hoyt Lake is.
So Hoyt Lake is like right there across from Buffalo State College, right there near at the end of Delaware Park. So if you just put Hoyt Lake in your GPS, it'll take you right there. And it's going to be this beautiful scene around the lake. There's stairs there. We're gonna
Love it.
It's going to be the atmosphere and the environment we're looking for. Think of like a Tony Robbins motivational event mixed with a Christian rock concert, mixed with people in the old Baptist church having breakthrough moments and their lives getting changed.
All right.
So,
now, let me ask you this before we go to break. And by the way, we do have an update I'll give you right after the break. We do have an update from a credible news source, and I'll give you that after the break. Is there a way that they could see if if they can't come, will it be streamed live? And then number 2, if it rains, how can they find out that it has been postponed or whatever?
We're not postponing it.
Okay, so it will be rain or shine.
We're going to be out there, rain or shine.
That's all I wanted to know. Rain or shine.
6 p.m., we're going to be right there at Hoyt Lake worshiping.
All
and
right.
If it rain, we're going to worship in the rain.
So you heard it here. It's happening, Breakthrough. Thank you, fellas, for coming.
Thanks
We're
for
going to
having
go
us,
and
Pastor.
pay the bills.
When it comes to something as personal as your clothes, you need to deal with somebody you can trust. That's why so many people turn to Hobson's Dry Cleaning, conveniently located in the heart of the community at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming.
When you take your clothes to Hobson's, you can trust that they'll be ready on time.
You can trust that your whites will be white.
You can trust that you'll always get a fair price and service with a smile.
You can even trust that you won't have to get out of your car if you don't want to. Hobson's has a drive-through window for your convenience.
Trust is what it's all about at Hobson's Dry Cleaning.
Hobson's Dry Cleaning, your one-stop dry cleaners serving the community for over 30 years at 874 East Delavan at the corner of Wyoming. Call 891-8298. That's 891-8298.
Brian K. Lewis Funeral Home has 3 locations to serve you in Buffalo. 347 Peckham, 2258 Bailey Avenue, and Providence Memorial Chapel at 1275 Sycamore. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes offers traditional services, and they have services for all faiths. And at Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes, they have air-conditioned parlors and chapels. Financing is available, as is limousine service. At those difficult moments in your life, Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes is available where you are with counseling services. Call toll-free 877-885-7734. That's 877-885-7734. Or locally 845-5545. Brian K. Lewis Funeral Homes. We are here to serve you, here to serve this present age. Call today, toll-free 877-885-7734. Or email info@brianklewisfuneralhome.com.
Okay, we are back, and Mark, you got some update, I think, from Maki Becker from the Buffalo News.
Let me turn my mic on. Yep, report from about 10 minutes ago. Maki Becker reported on Facebook that this just in from Buffalo Police about ECC. Buffalo police officers responded to a gun call at the ECC downtown campus at 10:24 a.m. Out of an abundance of caution, Buffalo police officers, SWAT, and the K-9 unit were assisted by Erie County Sheriff's Office and NFTA police in securing the facility and confirming there is no person with a firearm on site. At this time, there is nothing to indicate this was a legitimate gun call, but Buffalo police are continuing to investigate.
So this is why I say with an abundance of caution, right? So that everybody is not upset, but information is power. And on this station, I think that regardless of what we're doing, when there is something that is could be dangerous to the public, we have to stop and warn the public. That's what a big portion of what media is about. And so thank you to those of you who were giving me information. But that is exactly why I said don't be alarmed. Everybody breathe, because I think what was happening, other people were posting what other people were saying, and that's okay. But we got at least one report, and again, I still see nothing in any of the credible that is happening. So we'll keep checking it. The Department of Homeland Security fully funded now, so
yeah,
shutdown is over, and people are being paid, including ICE, which was a sticking point. I was more concerned. I'm concerned about everybody who's got a family and got to eat, but I understand what was supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
But I'm going to be honest. What did we get out of it? I mean, you showed that you could shut down government. I can't, you can always Monday morning quarterback.
Right.
But at the end of the day, ICE still has masks on.
Yep.
At the end of the day, I believe they're still at warrantless searches.
Right. And I think, like you said, to your point, I don't think the funding so much is the big issue, but at least get the policy change. Like, we're not saying that the work they're doing is not necessary, it's not needed in certain circumstances, but change the policy, change how they are going about the system. And I think that's where most common Americans would fall. Like, hey, listen, we're not saying they shouldn't be getting out people who are here illegally and doing harm, but we don't need to be rodeo cowboys and pulling up, because like I've seen it here in Buffalo. I've come down certain streets and I've seen SUVs swerve in and out of traffic, cutting people off, and they jump out the cars like vigilantes, and next thing you know, they just pulling people out of cars, and you like, what do you do? Like, right. And so I think if you, like I said, fund the need, but change the policy.
Yeah, and so probably the biggest news today, and we apologize for all of the construction noise going on.
Yeah,
we are in full effect in construction over here at 907. But what is concerning is people who decide, I'm not voting, I'm not getting involved. Well, congratulations, because what has just occurred in our Supreme Court that has a majority of conservatives. Now, I don't like to just throw around phrases, but everybody has different definitions.
Right.
But I would say, we do have a majority conservative. Well, what has happened in the Supreme Court is that the Supreme Court just made a decision. Now, remember this. There's no court higher than the United States Supreme Court.
Nope.
So once they have made a decision, the only body that can overturn the Supreme Court is the Supreme Court.
Yes.
Like in Roe versus Wade. Mm-hmm. Other than that, no other court can overturn the Supreme Court. With a recent Supreme Court decision, for most purposes, the country can no longer use what's called the Voting Rights Act to protect black and brown voters. I need you to understand, this is not just about African Americans, but it is about African Americans.
Yep, and Latinos and all of
Latinos, but
yep.
What the Voting Rights Act was put into place was mainly
yep.
for African Americans during the Civil Rights time, and what the Voting Rights Act was supposed to do in 1965, the year after I was born, was to stop states from blocking black people from voting and from making their votes meaningless. Section 2 of the act said if a voting system results in racial discrimination, even if you can't prove said racist things out loud, it violated the law.
Yep.
And so we're talking about in a time, and especially in the southern states, where they would draw these maps like we're seeing now, mm-hmm. but they were writing out black folks from being able to vote in a block.
Yes.
So you stick all the black people, or you encourage them to live in one area, or you redline an area so that they're all in one area, and then you chop that area up in the smaller pieces when it comes to voting, and they never have a representative who understands their needs and their wants, and that represents them because they're not at the table.
So basically, a district that might have been 60% African American,
Yes.
now gets split up into 4 different groups where they're only 15% of the district. So now, where if that 60% group might have had 30% white and 10% others, now these new 4 districts will be 15% and whatever the increase is of white voters and everything else. So I guess when you start to see the numbers play out and you're like, oh, that means we'll never be in a majority in a district. That's, like you said, the impact there.
That's the impact, which means all of the strides that we have made as people of color. I've just got, because now you have some states trying to redistrict quickly.
Tennessee is one of them.
Before the midterms.
Yep. And I think because the case was brought from Louisiana, if I'm not mistaken, didn't they say they were holding up their special election?
Absolutely.
Now?
Somebody did.
Yeah, somebody held up their special election just so they can redraw lines now. So in Tennessee's governor is already coming out saying, oh, yeah, we're redrawing immediately. So this is going to be sweeping across mainly the South. So, again, this is one of those. What I don't want to hear then is when the blue states start doing it now. Oh, it's illegal now. If it's good for the goose, it's going to be good for the gander. So if this is what it's going to be, then I think everyone needs to get into a room and strategize. How do you make this work effectively?
Well, it's going to be big because analysts estimate that weakening Section 2 could cost up to 11% of the seats currently held by members of the Congressional Black Caucus and nearly 200 state legislative seats.
Yes.
So, folks, we're not talking about just what's happening in Washington.
Yep.
This could affect New York State. Now, it won't affect us as widely as it will the southern states. Mm-hmm. It's going to affect them because of the populations and because generally in New York State, it's about Democrats and Republicans more than it is about white and black and Latino. Generally. But in southern states, Georgia, other places that are already struggling, when you have a large area like the Atlanta area, that now could see cuts in who represents them and who understands their issues. But it takes it a step further. Metro Atlanta, it could affect, and Buffalo, New York, it could affect. Mm-hmm. Because when lines have been redrawn, there have been very open conversations about making sure that districts represent the majority of people who live there.
Yes.
So African American, there have been lines, I'm sure, that have been drawn because of the fact that the East Side, for instance, let me give you how this could roll. On certain parts of the East Side, you have a large African-American population. When the lines are redrawn, and somebody could challenge the lines that are there right now and try to get Buffalo to redraw its lines, saying that lines were drawn based on racial makeup. If they then come back and then the Supreme Court ruling, you could see, just as an example, Maston with a lot more of North Buffalo, or whatever it is, where they intersect, because you would no longer be able to use race or similar communities as a way to judge. That's the danger.
I was getting ready to say, and because you've, I think, been through it twice now, and the last time we did it, I was working, and so in being in the rooms and kind of going through what the redistricting committee was putting forward, that was one of the main components is keeping like communities together.
Yes.
Because this whole country is built on a representative government. So if the majority of an area is African American or Latino or whatever, or white or whatever, you generally want to see your representative be from of a like mind, a like person, a like color, and then we'll go into next week's show when you start talking about jury diversification. It's the same thing, where it's I want to be judged by a jury of my peers, and my peers now. If I'm a 40-year-old black man and I walk into a courtroom and there's 12 white, I feel doomed. I don't care what the case is.
Right.
I just feel doomed right off the rip. And I think where we end up in the same thing is now if I'm an African American and depending on who is now representing me, if I don't feel heard, then you just now continue the divide of like, well, I'm not heard, so I'm not voting, and then it just becomes a perpetual cycle, and we lose representative government and just become what we left in England, basically.
Absolutely. Well, the court's approach this is the opinion of NPR. The court's approach encourages states to say their maps are about politics, not race, even when they know race and party are tightly linked, especially in the South where many black voters vote for Democrat. Analysts, and this is from State Court Reporter, warned that this opens the door to open season on racial gerrymandering disguised as partisan gerrymandering because it would be so hard to prove racist intent. So basically it's saying that, now it's just going to be like, oh, no, we don't want race in. It's just about partisan. Republican, the only thing we'll draw a line is Republican. Well, come on. At the end of the day, we know what is about to happen. And what has happened because of how people vote.
Yep.
So when you vote for a president that is going to have so many picks on the Supreme Court, then that I'm not saying that the Supreme Court is swayed by politics. However, I will say that there are those who it is very obvious of whether they are liberal, whether they are conservative, and what side of the fence they are on. Because at the end of the day, they're still human beings.
I wish I had my textbook because, and I think we talked about it on the show before. Like there really is a thing, especially with Supreme Court justices, where they are called activist judges, and the goal was always not to make the Supreme Court full of activist judges. You wanted a judge that no matter what their belief system is, the merit was based on protecting the original intent of the Constitution, and now it is now just because I believe this, then this is where I'm gonna decide, and if I don't believe it, then I'm dissenting. And the problem we then become is we are getting further and further away from what our forefathers wanted, or you're taking us back to the clarifications we were getting as more and more people and the demographics of the country change, because there are certain issues now, of course, the Constitution didn't address, but that's what you have a representative government for. And the point, and I think one of the justices that Scalia, he always said, my decision is based on the original intent of the Constitution. If it's not there, then our job is to throw it back to Congress to pass a law. And I think that, to me, should be the extent of the Supreme Court. If it's not there, then just throw it back to Congress and say pass a bill that makes it clear. But because you represent the people, and our job is just to interpret the original intent of the Constitution.
Some are saying for African Americans, voting rights have never been just about politics, and that's true. They have been about dignity, equality, and the ability to protect our families and communities. And let's be honest, the reason there was a Voting Rights Act is because this country was divided and still in many ways is divided by race, and that there was a open and concerted effort
Yes, there was.
to keep African Americans from voting so that they would not have representation in local government,
Yep.
in state government, and in federal government, which goes down to resources, because a lot of what your elected officials have control over our resources, money. Where is the money going? Education. If we didn't have representation, we still would not have the dollars in some of our inner cities for education. What were you about to say?
And I was getting ready to say, because that's what happened after the Civil War. There was a groundswell of black representation that started filling the local house, the state houses, and Congress. And as we had Congressman Clyburn, his whole book was about the first 7 or 8 in South Carolina. So the groundswell became, once the military and the National Guard left the South, they were like, oh yeah, we going back. And honestly, that's exactly what it feels like now. Certain people, Congressman John Lewis passed, and it's like, okay,
yeah,
we going back.
Like, and we're already quiet enough, too quiet.
Yes,
I'm afraid when Afro, there's a paper, Afro, I can't see the whole name. It's just called Afro. It says, when fewer black leaders are at the table, it becomes harder to push for policies on issues like police reform, school funding, health care, and criminal justice that many black communities care deeply about. And folks, I don't care whether you're black or white. At the end of the day, if you don't agree that there is still a race divide, and that there was, because there's some people in denial, that there was ever a need for civil rights.
Well, that's, again, just literally left a class called Power and Privilege. That's actually how those in power and privilege stay in power and privilege. One of the ways is just denying that it ever existed, and that's the sad part, because you just keep denying. Oh, there's not an advantage. There's not this, that, and the other.
That's how you do it.
But it's clear.
But that's how you keep the power. Without strong federal rules, states can quietly return to tactics that weaken black votes, like having at-large elections, or strange-shaped districts that look neutral but hurt black communities. And the reason I agree with that statement is because, let's be honest, how many of you who are listening right now know what's happening in Albany? Like today. How many of you know, except that the budget is delayed, and you only know that if some of your grant money or something didn't come through?
Crickets.
People are not watching what happens in their state house.
No.
People know what's happening, and that's why when somebody said, "Would you go back to council?" What? People watch council.
Mm-hmm.
They watch because they think that's what affects them most. Streets and sidewalks, and I'm not saying it's not important. It is important. My tires will tell you it's important.
Yep.
But at the end of the day, there is something larger, and we sometimes get lulled to sleep by local politics and don't realize usually your local governments have very little money.
Yep.
Have very little resources. They're depending on the big dollars from federal government. They're depending on housing dollars from the state government. And if those governments are now led by people who don't understand poverty, who don't understand the people they represent, then regardless of whether you're black or white, I'll say this, and I'm giving him his due. I really don't care so much whether you're black or white. I care, do you understand the issues? And I'll say this, Tim Kennedy is white as they come. But at the end of the day, Tim figured out black and African-American and people of color's issues.
Yep.
And so represent me, but represent me.
I was getting ready to say he did a very good job in figuring out who's in my district, what are the needs, and how I can go fight, and what partnerships I need to create to get things done.
Absolutely.
Now, him in Congress, he's an uphill journey because they're not in the majority, but you still fight and advocate.
Still got to fight.
You still got to fight and advocate.
So at the end of the day, folks, this is huge. And I'm going to say this to people of color. I'm going to say this to my African-American brothers and sisters. Don't allow people who just want us to fight with each other to keep the focus on us fighting with each other and us not fighting together. Because you can fight with each other and get the clicks and get the likes and run up your platform. But if your platform is about going after one another, we really in trouble.
And that's so true, because so many conversations recently have been it just for lack of a better term, black on black social media crime. Like, you want to attack other black people who are doing something positive. What are you doing positive besides attacking them? Because it's pointless. And when we have other battles to fight, let's go fight them, or fight your own battles. Let me do my fight over here.
Do your fight,
and you figure out what your fight is. But I did want to say I was impressed with the first step that I saw some black church leaders do with the Supreme Court decision. Yesterday, I saw immediately the presiding prelate from Church of God in Christ, Bishop J. Jew Streard. He came out with a statement immediately. I saw a few others. And it's like, okay, that's step one.
I was about to say, that's good.
So now I need the major leaders of our black church organizations to get in the room. Because, again, if you want to put the fear of God in some of this country's highest positions, you let some of these major black reformations and organizations come together. Because that is a huge population of people across this country. You let them come together and say, we did it with a Target Fast or whatever else.
Yes.
If you let these organizations come together, National Baptist and all of these Church of God in Christ and all of the apostolic organizations, all these groups say, listen, we're going to get in the room. We're going to come up with these 4 policies that we want to see. That is how we come together. So good step 1, we need to take steps 2 and 3.
Because you can put out a letter, but it's got to, when is the action?
Absolutely.
And this is what I say, whether people agree with Jamal, whether people agree with whoever did what, we almost got lost in the sauce.
Yep.
Because he made an opinion about what he started, and it was like, and we're about to get lost in the sauce again.
Yep.
It sometimes, and people might not like this, you need a crisis to wake you up.
Absolutely.
And if you don't think this is a crisis, I'm 61. I'm more worried about my grandchildren, who this is going to affect more than it's going to affect me. I'm more worried about and let me say this for us seniors, a seasoned. It could affect us down the line when you talk about Social Security.
Yep.
When you talk about health, when you talk about Medicare, Medicaid, when you're talking about food programs. Don't think that just staying silent, and that's why I utilize this platform. I might not have the reach of others, but I'll use what I have to educate my people. Tim Newkirk says on Facebook, the handwriting was on the wall. It was already written. All this was already written.
Yes,
this was a part of the plan. I agree with you, Tim. This was a part of the plan. And when people sat back and decided, I'm not voting, not once, but through several elections.
Yep.
When people said, you got to choose a side, even if you don't fully agree with that side. So now what we have is we got a mess on our hands.
Yes.
And we got the Supreme Court that has just turned back decades of fighting, decades, a half a century of change has gone down the tubes with one vote.
Yep.
And so will the people in Buffalo, we definitely need to be paying attention, because there's some neighborhoods, y'all talking about the African-American, it ain't African-American anymore.
Nope. Sure ain't.
Just ride through some neighborhoods. It might be majority African-American on the census, but are they active citizens voting?
Yes.
And being a part of the community? I just watched on the news, I forgot the name of this supermarket on Bailey.
Oh, yeah. I saw it. I saw the story.
Yeah, so I just watched it where they're saying, and I didn't know how big it was in there. This man got eggs in there for 60-something cents.
Yep.
So he's competitive, but he's saying, hey, I might not be able to expand because of – now, my point isn't about getting into the taxes, although I did have that on here to talk about it. But at the end of the day, my point is we don't own no grocery store that big.
Nope.
Let's be honest, Black Buffalo. The last big grocery store we had was called Figmo's. Finally, I got my own store. That was the last one. These folks, and this is no disrespect to them, I want to be clear. Because all of the lies that they get a tax break, that's not true.
Mm-mm.
And anybody who tells me, show me the paperwork.
Yep.
Show me the proof, and I will back down.
That's all I ever said. Well, where the paperwork?
Just show me.
Show it.
What they have is a work ethic, and they have. I promise you, and I know what people say, they don't hire people from our community, and I agree. You got to go to them, but they are in our community, and the senior who's around the corner who can't get to Wegmans,
Yep.
who can't afford different places, can walk in that place. And I'm going to that place, by the way, because I'm going to get those 6 cent eggs.
Yeah, I was going to say, and get all kind of fresh fruit, and healthier than what we can get from our corner stores and everything else.
When we talk about representation,
yep.
When other groups of people decide they're going to really take over,
Yes.
they're going to take over. And they're going to have the money to finance their own campaigns.
Yep.
And their mosques are going to stick with them.
Yep.
Their people are going to stick together. And so y'all want to enjoy the show of black people tearing down black people? Go ahead.
Yep.
I choose not to do it. I'm not going to participate. I'm not going to share somebody's post against somebody else. I'm not going to make a comment publicly because it is not helping us get ahead. It is helping us go backwards.
And I just want to spend the last couple minutes. No, we're going off the air. I just got a text and didn't get confirmation in time, but I think it's important because, and I know we had a lot of other stuff, but we can be on different sides. We can have different opinions, but attacks on our elected officials or those in public office has to stop. From the correspondence dinner, whatever the situation there is. But I just got a text that one of the deputy mayors today was threatened with a knife downtown, and
that's allegedly. We do not have.
I didn't get confirmation.
Yeah, I want to make sure. Yep.
Didn't get confirmation, but so we have to do better. And of course, we know mental health is a thing. But just because you're on different sides and have different issues and different thought processes, there's a way to handle it, and that's where we spent most of this show talking about. We have legal processes in this country to handle what we need to handle legally and constitutionally, and we just need to pray for those that are struggling, because listen, we all can go off one day, and
absolutely.
But those who have decided to enter public office, whether they're elected or appointed, let's just pray for them.
Right. And again, I just want to reiterate, that was a text.
Allegedly, yes.
We do not have any confirmation on that. Listen, folks, we got to get ready to go. But I'm just saying this to people who look like me, people who look like me. Listen, we can fight against each other until there's a crisis. Because when a plane is going down, nobody sees black or white.
Nope.
When an accident occurs, everybody, if you have a heart, you're trying to help. At the end of the day, we can stick together or not. It's your choice. Until next week.
Power to the people.